Yo, we decided to dust off the old Sabo deck and see what it can do with a mild update. We added Shariah's his name? That blocker. Because it's like, hey, why not, right? Block, gain 1,000. I now qualify for the protection. And then boom. You know? That was where our theory was, and we're just gonna see if it pans out. We took out Fukuro for that, but I do see Fukuro's benefit is like you can't remove him from the board with you know trash effects, KO effects. Yeah, that one. You can't remove him from the board with KO effects, but we figured it was redundant. I don't know. We're just trying things just so we can say Sabo op06 in the title. Forgive me. Doesn't make it bad. Doesn't make it a bad thing. But of course, we love suggestions and stuff. I ain't gonna lie. At the moment, we have been getting more views, but not much interaction. So feel free to provide suggestions. And obviously, if you feel confident in us, feel free to give us a request. Hey, try see what you can do with this deck or that deck. But ultimately, we're here to share tech ideas and all that good stuff, and see if we could bring a change to the meta. Being a part of this community and all that good stuff. So yeah, feel free to provide whatever suggestions you guys see fit. And subscribing does help. Subscribing does help. Help us get over 200 subscribers. It's just getting tough. Like trying to do some push-ups. So, like, share, subscribe, anything you find interesting, and let's get to the game. So, literally, our first match with this Sabo deck is yellow, and we're like, you know what? Why not? Yellow has been the bane of a lot of players for a long time. It kind of took over the place of red in terms of being upset with a color. Meanwhile, black is more so the leaders, i.e. Sakazuki and Moria. It's more so the leaders. When it comes to yellow, people are not mellow. But all right. See, the interesting thing regarding the Sabo is what you call it. Making sure you don't slip up with the Don. Me personally, I just say put the Don on him first so you can't even have accidents. It is scary attacking yellow. It's nuts. It is scary attacking yellow. But because I don't believe, Sabo works on the opponent's turn, I believe. So it's like we're still vulnerable and we still got to be careful with certain triggers like Thunderbolt and Onami. But with Sabo, it increases our chances of keeping a board up. We want him to block here. So hopefully either he's going to lose cards or block. He might end up taking a life. I think that's the better move for him to do, is to take the life. Because obviously you can fish for a trigger or just eventually regain the life. But he opted to block, so now we don't have to worry about the blocker next round. And if he swings with Gadatsu, we can just tunnel vision on Gadatsu. Three life. Can't get use out of Radical Beam yet. Kikunojo hits the board. She is live. So, meaning we KO her, he will gain a life. He swings for 7. So we're just going to go with the Sabo effect, save cards in our hand. I'm sure he's well aware that if he attacks with Gadatsu, we will swing on it. And he wants to make sure we do not keep it, so he puts him down and he attacks. Karasu, I thought he was going to be so busted when he came, when I saw him, and I was like, when he comes out, oh my god, like that's a card I legitimately was worried about without seeing anything, because I'm like, the ability to go for game. Zoro was causing terror and nightmares. I'm like, they play that card lower you by 1,000 and just start swinging with the whole board. My goodness. He might not have to even put Don on a few of his characters. So I was so worried about that, but it never happened because the thing about the meta is a lot changes in metas. Every time boxes come out, sets come out, a lot of cards end up changing. So yeah. Zoro didn't find room for this guy, but I really thought he would have been a very effective card for Zoro decks. Choosing to save Gadatsu, but we still got a leader swing, so I think essentially he probably wants to eat up some swings. That's the way I see it. Because I think it would have been better off just letting him go and then taking a life. I mean, you're at 4 life, so I don't know why he's being stingy. That would have been more cards in your hand, essentially. You would have, you would have 2 more cards in your hand. And it is yellow. Like, why would, like, you have a Kikunojo on the board. You have, I'm sure you play Charlotte Linlands, whether it's a 7 or a 10 drop. So, like, essentially, you know, you're going to gain more life. So he should have just kept the cards in his hand. But then again, I wasn't paying attention to what he discarded for counter power. So maybe it was just something he really didn't need. Yeah, you see, that Sabo ability has to get annoying. It has to. Because it's like, if you don't got, regardless, it's 2 actions. You got to burn 2 actions, essentially. If you're not bottom decking or bouncing or whatever, you're essentially burning 2 actions, whether it's a card effect or whether it's an attack. I guess he's debating. Okay, so he's going for it, but we don't have a 2K counter, so that's very telling. Because clearly, if we had a 2K counter, we could have just did that and saved him. And then that's very telling, letting him know we don't even have a 1K counter. So we had 10 Dawn. A 10 drop is tempting, but I am afraid of a counter attack. Me personally, that is. We got Blocker. A Radical Beam is now live. We have the Bad Kick Manners or whatever it's called. But I think that 10 drop Luffy is underrated. I guess it's just how the meta is in general. Because Big Mom as a 10 drop, she we get the ability. Make sure we get the KO on Kikunojo. Yep. Being that he's swinging with that pudding, we're gonna take that off the board. So yeah, I think that Luffy 10 drop is a little underrated, but it could just be a meta thing, a format thing. So quite possibly it's hard for him to see play right now. All right, so he's at 5 life, almost like he's at he's at full life again, you can say. Yeah, I think that term works here. And we had, at this point we have to do some damage, right? So we keep 1 up for Radical Beam, and we swung. Of course, he took it. We got 3 characters on the board, and I forgot his name. The blocker, Shiraya. There you go. He is funny. He's like essentially a counter to Katakuri. Now, we don't have counter power, so I don't even know if he remembers that, but he decides to reject the Shiraya. But yeah, it doesn't matter what Katakuri swings for. Essentially, we can always match and then 1K. So that's the wonderful thing about Shiraya. But, oh, right. In this deck, we can just block and then Sabo ability. So, like, he can swing for 7, and now we just make Shiraya 6. So that's where we're going with. But he took that away from us, because that's exactly what we wanted, but he took it away from us. 7K. We Radical Beam out of that. We don't want to get too low. Make it easy for him to go for game. Like, we're trying to avoid a situation like that. So we have some rush characters. We have some characters on the board. We have blocker. We got some options here, but we are looking at 4 life. Our opponent having 4 life, that is 3 cards in hand. So that's 4 potential triggers. We got to be careful. All right, of course, let's start it off with a leader swing. We get the Don on Sabo. No accidents. He decides to protect. I ain't gonna lie, it stays confusing me. Okay, beige. He beiged a Karasu, that's fine. We just put 2 more cards down and Luffy is rushed, so we get to swing. Yeah, it confuses me when I see Katakuri or yellow. Well, maybe, yeah, yellow players in general being so overly protective of their life. Because at some point, if you got like 1 or 2 cards in your hand, and you just have to eat a wave of attacks, it's like, okay, can you turn the game around? Anything's possible, but work with me here. What is the likelihood of you turning that game around, depending on the board state, of course? Like, low key right now, he's now at 2. Well, now he's at 3, so I spoke too soon. But yeah, they'd be overprotecting like crazy, in my personal opinion. And I think it just essentially be leading to situations where they just have to eat so much, and then now they're in lethal range because they had no resources in their hand to like help pick and choose when to take damage. So I just say don't overprotect. Mind you, mid-game triggers might just be as effective, if not more, depending on the trigger, of course, as a late-game trigger. See, and the fun thing is, because obviously he doesn't know what we're playing, in this scenario, any blocker triggers he get would be useless. So it's kind of funny that way. So this is what we're banking on. And old Nami is probably the thing we have to technically worry about. He has 2 life and 4 cards in hand. We have 4 attack. So he just needs to stop 2 attacks. That's what he's looking to do, is to stop at least 2 attacks. Now Karasu lowered him by 1,000. It's going to make it much harder for him to counter out. So a 7k swing, even if he was to use a 3k pump, like what's that called? You're the one that should disappear. If he was to even use something like that, he would still have to chuck another card. So he got, I saw 1 Amaru as well. So he had an Amaru in his hand, and then he got 1 from life, and he uses the trigger to gain an extra life. Okay, so essentially we got 3 more attacks. He has 2 life, 2 cards in hand, but his leader is 4k because he has a negative 1k thanks to our character ability. So this is still looking plausible. Yeah, I'll say. Now it's all about Don efficiency, because essentially 6k swing is still a 2k difference. So instead, you don't have to swing for 7, you can swing for 6. He will just lose the 2 cards in hand, but we need him to eat the life. So that's the situation we're in. Okay, that is a Brule trigger. So we decide to, here we go, make Zoro unblockable. Swing for 7. That's not enough cards to keep him protected. He couldn't block that. And Luffy will swing for 8, which in this scenario is like he's a 9. And thank God that wasn't Onami or Thunderbolt. And we get to close the game out now. Yep, that was an interesting match. I'm not gonna lie. Well, you know what it is. GG.